For our second episode on fractions, we're going to look at equivalent fractions. Now, the word equivalent means that they are two fractions that look different, but they have exactly the same value. So, for instance, if you're given 3/4 or 3/4 and told that that is 12 over something, how are you going to find out what the missing denominator is? Well, the best way to do that is to remember that whatever you do to the numerator of a fraction, you have to do the same thing to the denominator of the fraction. So you've got to ask yourself, how did you get 3 to become 12? Well, obviously 12 is bigger than 3, so you multiplied 3 by something, and 3 times 4 is 12. Whatever you did to the numerator, you have to do exactly the same thing to the denominator. And now you're going to say 4 times 4 is 16. So getting back to pizzas again, if you watched my first episode, you'll know that I like comparing fractions to pizzas. If I got a pizza and I cut it into 4 pieces and I ate 3 of the pieces, I will have eaten exactly the same amount of pizza as if I'd taken that same pizza, cut it into 16 slices, which would now be quite thin slices, and I'd eaten 12 of them. In both cases, I would have eaten the same amount of pizza, and that's what equivalent fractions are all about. So I could also get something like this. I could be given 7/8 is equal to something over 24. So here my numerator I was given and my denominator was missing. Now I've been given my denominator, but my numerator is missing. So you always start where you've got the most information. Here you had the numerators, that's where you had your information. Here you've got your denominators, so you can compare them. Well, 24 is bigger than 8, so I must have multiplied 8 by something to get to 24. 8 times 3 is 24. So whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top, and that's the golden rule. And so therefore, the top is 21. If I was given 8/9 equal to 64 over something. So again, the numerator is where I have all the information, so that's where I'm going to start. And I've got to say 8 times what gives me 64? 8 times 8. Whatever I do to the numerator, I have to do to the denominator. And 9 times 8 is 72. I hope you're shouting out the answers before I even say them, because I hope you're improving your tables knowledge every single day. Right, what if I've got something over 3 equals, and my complete fraction is on the other side? It doesn't make any difference. Here I was moving from that side to that side because that's how I had the information, and the thing I was looking for was on the right-hand side. Now the thing I'm looking for is over here, so I'm simply going to work backwards. So how did 21 become 3? What did I do to 21 to make it become smaller? Did I times by something or divide by something? Well, obviously, if it's become smaller, I must have been dividing by, how many times does 3 go into 21? 7. So therefore, 7 times 3 is 21. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. What is 14 divided by 7? It's 2. So if I cut my pizza into 3 pieces and ate 2 of them, I would have eaten the same amount as if I cut it into 21 thin slices and ate 14 of them. Let's look at 15/45 equals something over 9. Right, we're always moving in the direction of the one that's missing. So we're moving in this direction, and all our information is in the denominator. So I've got to say, how did 45 become 9? Well, it became smaller, so I must be dividing it by something. 45 divided by 5 is equal to 9. So I have to do the same to the top. And 15 divided by 5 is 3. Right, now you'll look at that, and if you know your tables well, something's going to jump out at you. If you don't know your tables very well, you might leave that as your final answer, and it's not complete. Whenever you think you've got your answer, especially when you're simplifying, so when we're coming down like this and the numbers are getting smaller, we're simplifying. And if we're simplifying, we need to keep going until we're in the simplest form. In this case, you wouldn't have to keep going because the question was, what will the numerator be? But if it was asking you to simplify, you would have to go further. So I'm going to say for fun, let's just go further. Now we're asking ourselves a slightly different question, and it's related to highest common factor. If you need to go and revise that, go to my lesson on highest common factor. And in highest common factor, we're saying, what is the biggest number, the highest number that can divide into 3 and also into 9? Or you can say to yourself, which times table do they both belong to? Well, they both belong to the 3 times table. So I can divide both of them by 3. And 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. So all 3 of these fractions that look completely different are all equivalent fractions, because if you break it down into pizzas, cut it into 45 and eat 15 of them, cut it into 9 and eat 3 of them, or cut it into 3 slices and eat 1 of them, you will have eaten the same amount of pizzas in every single case. Let's look at 42 over 54, and that's been given to us as being 7 over something. So we're going towards the missing number, so we're going in this direction. Where is all our information? It's in the numerator, so we start there. So how did 42 become 7? It became smaller, so we must be dividing. To find out what this number is, you simply say to yourself, how many times does 7 go into 42? If you don't know your tables, you go 7, 14, 21, until you get to 42 and see how many fingers you've got up. But I'm sure you're all telling me that the answer is 6. If I divide the numerator by 6, I do the same to the denominator, and 54 divided by 6 is 9. Now let's just look at those two numbers and see, is it possible to do the same thing we did here and to break it down even further? So here I said to myself, what times table do they both belong to? 3, so I divided by 3. Do these two belong to a same times table? No, so we can't go further. That's it. So the last two I'm going to do are where my instruction would be simplify the following fractions. So I'm not giving you part of the answer fraction. I'm just giving you a fraction and saying simplify it. Simplify always means that you're going to be dividing and not multiplying, because simplifying means breaking it down into the smallest possible way that you can present it. So this is very linked to highest common factor. Go back to your highest common factor video and check it out, especially check it out for the shortcut method, because you don't want to do a long method here. You haven't got time. So the shortcut says, look at the two numbers and decide what times table do they both belong to. So they're both even numbers, so 2 will go into both of them. But we can't take that as the answer. We need to keep pushing ourselves up a little bit, see is there a bigger number that will go into both. Well, they both belong to the 2 times table, but don't they also both belong to the 4 times table? Yes, okay. 6 times table, that one belongs to the 6 times, that one doesn't. Okay, let's keep going up. It's looking like it might be an even number. Let's try 8. Does 8 go into 16? Yes, it does. Does 8 go into 24? Yes. Okay, I don't think we can go much bigger than that. So let's divide by 8 and divide by 8. And now we're going to get 16 divided by 8 is 2. And 24 divided by 8 is 3. Now, if you're trying to imagine a pizza, isn't it much easier to imagine 2/3 of a pizza than to imagine 16/24 of a pizza? And that's why we simplify fractions, because in this simplified form, they're so much easier to understand. Right, last one. And here I'm going to do something to show you What happens if you don't think of the highest common factor straight away? It's not a train smash. So our two numbers are 32 and 40. Again, we've got even numbers, so 2 would go into them. Let's see now. We think a little bit more, maybe 4. 4 goes into them. All right, let's say that your tables aren't top notch, so you think that 4 is the highest common factor, and you decide to divide both of them by 4. Let's see what's going to happen then. 32 divided by 4 is 8, and 40 divided by 4 is 10. And this is why, like over here, you must always check what you think is your final answer. And the question you must ask yourself to see if it is your final answer is, do these two numbers belong to the same times table? Can I break them down further? And it's going to jump out at you that they're both even, and so therefore they can both be divided by 2 again. And so 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. I'm going to ask myself the question again, do these belong to the same times table? No, so that is my final answer. I can't break it down any further. I hope you enjoyed the video, and there are going to be quite a few episodes in the videos on fractions, so look out for them, and they'll follow in a logical order, so try to work through them from the first one through to the last one.